Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello my friends and welcome to another weekly wrap up, and today we have a rainy fall day in Fargo and I'm so happy about it. Also, just to address the pimple in the room, I'm trying out these pimple patches. This one is a little star. Yes, it's a big literal like black spot on my face, but I've never tried pimple patches before because I don't usually get a lot of them, but I don't like wearing a ton of makeup. You guys know this. I like doing my eyes and that's about it. And so I'm finally trying these, and I used one yesterday and it really did reduce it a lot, but we have it on here again just because. So if you see myself staring at it or touching it, it also helps not to touch it having the patch, because at least I'm touching that. But anyway, I actually found these, by the way, at the Dollar Tree. They had pimple patches, which is kind of cool. And they were in fun little shapes. So I'm wearing one right there. But anyway, we don't have a ton of books to talk about today, so I'm, of course, going to find ways to ramble and fill the space as well. But a couple other little announcements. So thank you so much, everyone who was involved in the craft-a-thon. I'll insert some of the pictures of collage from projects that everyone did, at least the ones who sent them to me. I think we had a good turnout for it. It was obviously super chill. Thank you to all of my co-hosts who took some time to be on camera for everybody. And yeah, if you really liked it, let me know, shout off about it, and maybe we'll plan another one. I'm not sure when for, because I do still want to do another romance. Well, actually, I don't think we have done a romance takeover readathon this year, if I'm correct. I don't think we have, because I think we did our we did a historical romance readathon, we did the Mafia Romance readathon, and I think those are it this year. I've really cut back on readathons because they're a lot of work, and you know, I'm always going to do the Mafia readathon, but we won't be doing a fan fiction readathon this year, and so maybe I'll try to fit in a romance takeover readathon still before the end of the year. But I don't know. It's already coming upon us, so I don't know if we will or not. But had a great time with that. And then another announcement, next weekend I'm going to be at my family, well, it's called Family Weekend at my dad's work. He works at a resort in the summers, and the last weekend of September is always employee weekend, and we're able to rent a cabin for, well, we get given a cabin to stay at with our families. And so I'll be on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so there won't be a weekly wrap up. But the weekend after that, you'll have a double whammy. I'll still have videos planned to go up, so definitely make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on those. But yeah, otherwise, I just want to welcome a new channel member here. We have Sue, who's joined at a dedicated diva level. So thank you so much, Sue. We're so happy to have you. And we'll go ahead and get into the books that I read. And then we'll also talk about one that I'm currently reading, because I'm literally going to finish it today. And since it's going to be 2 whole weeks, like I said, before you get another wrap up, we'll talk about that book, so that we'll have 6 things to talk about. I think that will be good. So let's get, first up, I had an ALC of Resisting Mr. Rich by Elle Nickel. Now, this book is actually book 8 in a series of hers, but what it appears she was doing, this is only the 3rd book of hers I've read. And this is actually the series that she did. Sorry, it's actually kind of warm here, even though it is rainy and cold outside. It's warm in my apartment, so I'll just take that off here so it stops distracting me. But this is the series that came out before the is it the Beaufort or the I don't know, the current series that is coming out that I'm really enjoying. And she is having all of those ones done in duet audio. And so when I saw that she had the audio of this one coming out, I was looking for if anyone was doing ALCs for this one, because that's what I got for books 1 and 2 of the other series. And so I straight up asked her, because I'm a nosy girl sometimes, I was like, hey, are you going to be doing ALCs of this? Just hoping she would point me towards the PR company who is doing it. And instead, she just sent it right over to me. Which was actually great, because then I didn't have any like release dates or things to worry about, which is good because I end up with a lot of dates that I have to follow, and that can be a bit overwhelming for me, let's just say. So Resisting Mr. Rich was book 8 in this series, and it was about this couple named Logan and Maddie. And we do actually have a guest spot from Sterling, which was really cool, who that is the hero from Matchmaker, the one that I adore. And he actually has a couple cameos in this one, being the wonderful gentleman that he is. But in this one, this is actually a brother's best friend, but it's also a rivals to lovers, because what happened is that Maddie kind of hates Logan for a couple of reasons. We'll get into if I appreciate those reasons or not, but at least for the setup of the story. There was a time when they were both young that her brother ended up in juvie and Logan didn't, even though they both did the kind of like crime. And she always blamed Logan because he had a wealthier dad than hers, and that he got out of it because he was rich. That's what she believes anyway. And to add insult to injury, while he was in this juvie program, her brother had asked Logan to look out for Maddie. And Maddie decided to do that, Logan decided to look out for Maddie by maybe kind of sort of spreading a rumor about her to the boys her age to keep them away from her. I won't tell you what it was, but I definitely understand why she was horrified, and it definitely went too far. But it did also happen when they were literal children, and it's been many, many years since then. And in the current setup, she is actually a like journalist / she writes for an online website. She also actually like reviews books for this site, so that was cool. She actually reviews like audiobooks and things. So there was a cute little side plot line that had to do with audiobooks. I always love a meta insert like that. You know, we love it. But what happens is she actually gets assigned to write an article about Logan, because his family is very wealthy. They are in tech business, I think. I'm not even sure what they really do. But the point is, he's trying to get a new project off the ground. And so he's going on a tour through a few places in Europe to get funding. And she gets sent to basically shadow him and write this article. And she wants nothing less. But for her to be able to write stories that she wants to write, she also has to write ones like this. And this could also be a really big break for her if she wrote this article about him, but she doesn't want to spend any time with him. So that's kind of our setup, is that she's forced into this proximity with him. They banter all the time. He doesn't fully understand why her banter, like she says she hates him. She says she hates him multiple times. And like he knows that he irritated her when they were young, but he doesn't fully realize just her full level of vitriol that she has for him, which again, same bro. I don't get why a chick is so mad about some things. But this ends up becoming eventually where they end up having a like hate fuck and then decide to have a fling while they are on this road trip of him gathering funding and everything. But to add another like level to it, Logan has more on the line than just funding this project. His family is actually on the brink of ruin. So this is a billionaire romance, but also he may no longer be a billionaire if things go wrong, whatever. And so he really needs to find the funding he needs, because if he doesn't, he could lose everything. And his father is trying to push him into an arranged marriage with his friend's daughter, because that guy would then invest in the company and it could help. And so there's never really a full-on engagement. He's never been with this woman before. She's a friend. But there is also the threat, let's say, of another woman going on through this story, which I know won't be for everyone. I was okay with it. It wasn't horrible, but just a warning to you about that if you don't want that at all. I don't personally think it was other woman drama because, again, but it does make Maddie jealous at points. We'll say that. So anyway, that's kind of the layout of the story. It is a, week-long fling / really deep feelings building up / her believing bad things about him, based on like the past of the two of them together, their family history, let's say. So yeah, good setup. Great narration, by the way. These were 2 narrators I don't remember, that I don't remember hearing before. There was Helen Duff and Kieran Seward, and this was duet narration, which was excellent. So great narration that got me through it. Few things though that brought this one down, and that just didn't like live up to what I was feeling about like the matchmaker and even the rule breaker, because there was things about that heroine that were annoying too, but for the situation in the story, I believed her and what she was doing. You know what I mean? This heroine felt very whiny and entitled and judgy the whole way through, okay? This was one of those where it felt like she was constantly judging him for having money, meanwhile not realizing, not fully seeming to grasp that, like, his family could possibly lose their money, and also they've been good stewards of their money. Sorry, that's very, like, adult of me to say. And there's a lot of people who are hired by them. And so it just was weird, especially considering that, like, her family ain't poor either. Like, it's not like she's completely from this poor family. Like, it solely seems to be based on the fact that his daddy supposedly used his money to get him out of trouble when he was a teen and didn't help her brother get out of trouble when they were young, which, again, that's supposed to be her main reason, besides the fact, too, that he told this kind of, like, lie about her when they were kids. Sorry, bending over. Lie about her when they were kids to keep guys away from her. Those are her, like, main reasons. And it just drug on way too long. And then this also had the case of, once we've started sleeping together, every time she's like, it's never going to happen again. I can't believe I did that. He's evil. I hate him. And she continues to say that for so fucking long into the story. And it's one of those where he's always the one having to pursue her. He's always the one having to apologize for stuff that either he did or didn't do. And he's always the one who has to be patient and wait for her to get it, right? And that just makes for a very childish heroine, okay? There are grievances she had with him that were okay to have, and I would have been like, yeah, that's the tension in the story. We have to have them on opposite sides. But she holds on to them for so long, while still fucking him constantly, all the time. And he's falling deeply in love with her. And I mean, we know she's falling for him too, but she also is still just like, oh, he's a spoiled Richie Rich, and he doesn't deserve any of that, like all of these things, right? So she just became a real drag on it. And where that is also multiplied, and you've heard me say this again, this was 100 plus pages too long, okay? Very, very long. It took too long for them to start sleeping together, and then they were sleeping together for a long time before we had any more emotion coming. So everything was just stretched too far in this story. And if you look at the reviews for this one, I am not the only one who felt that way about it. So those were kind of the detractors. And I'll say that if I wasn't listening to the book, if I wasn't listening to the great narration and all of that, I probably would have skipped chunks of it. And as it was, this book took me like a full week to get through, because I would listen and listen and listen, and it wasn't close to being done yet, you know? And that's always kind of a sign that, like, it's not holding your attention. So I know I just dragged a lot. I still am liking Elle Nickel. There's also something to be said for, this was going backwards in her work, right? I am really enjoying the current series, but I wanted to try one from this one. It's very clear there's lots of other couples in it. This was book 8, and we see a lot of other couples introduced. And again, in this one, we got to see a peek at Sterling, and he has a really sweet kind of like hero moment in this one too, where he does something to kind of help these two get together. So yeah, what I'll say about Resisting Mr. Rich is to point you towards Matchmaker again and hope that you'll read it, because I'm never going to stop talking about that book. Like, there was so much good in that one. And though Really, one of my only downsides to that one was it is a bit too long as well, but I didn't mind as much because the characters were so lovable and there was multiple layers to the plot in that one that worked out. So anyway, I ended up at a 3.5, round to a 4 for that one because I did get an early copy of it. And it was a 3.5 on the spice. There was a lot of spice. I think there was some anal. There was hate fucking. There was shower sex. There was some good spicy times, but it definitely was dragging. And he was kind of sort of engaged for a lot of the book. Like I said, it didn't feel like cheating in any way, shape, or form, but it also was like, did we need to have the threat of this marriage for so long in the book? Right. Okay, next up, I read quite the divergence from my normal track here, okay? And that was Death Valley by Karina Halley, which rhymes here. So I actually annotated this one for one of my patrons. And I got around to it kind of earlier in the month than I normally do. Usually if you're a patron, you know, I kind of end up shoving these all at the end of the month because I get caught up in other things. But I wanted to give myself time with this one, and I'm really glad that I did. So I won't spoil any of the big things in this one, of course, but I will set it up because this definitely was like a horror suspense. And it's even said it's kind of like The Walking Dead meets Yellowstone. And it has aspects of that. Like, oh my gosh, look at this creepy picture here. And just a little bit of backstory on it. Apparently this was previously a book from Karina Halley. She said in here, it was called, it was inspired by Red Dead Redemption. And the book she wrote back then was more of a retelling of the Dawners. And this one, she wrote that one back in 2013. And so then in this one, though, she was just going to, it was called Dawners of the Dead, which is kind of funny. And in this one, she was going to just basically rewrite a few parts that were a bit sketchy in it and re-release it. But instead, she changed it, and she made the Dawners more of the horror part of it. And she wrote this one instead. So this book is heavily inspired on the Donner Party. They're a part of the lore of this. So if you are a history buff like me, especially like dark history, I think you'll get a big kick out of this one, especially because the prologue of this book actually starts with a bit of the story of the Donner Party. She even starts with an author's note that tells the brief overview of what the true history is. And then her prologue is actually in the winter of 1847, and it tells the story of Nora McAllister, Amelia Thomas, and Nathaniel McGraw, and something that happens to them. And basically the setup of this is that the Donner Party, those of them that had to eat human flesh, because that is part of the story, some of them had to become cannibals to live. Anyone who ate flesh became a zombie when they died there, which I was like, that is pretty clever, because that is kind of part of the myth of what a zombie is anyway, that flesh eating thing, and it rots your brain. And you know, that's also based on, like, there are some diseases you can get from being a flesh eater and all these things. Okay. And so that is the prologue of this, is seeing how that manifested, what happened, and then it cuts to present day. Okay. So definitely I read the prologue of this and the first couple chapters at nighttime, and I'm an absolute chicken. Okay. Though I will say, the overall of this book wasn't that spooky. It's just that I'm a chicken. And I kept ending up reading this at night, because nighttime is when I'm usually physically reading, right? During the day, I'm listening to audiobooks and getting stuff done. And at night, I'm physically reading, and I had to annotate this. But in this story, we have Aubrey, who 3 years ago, her sister Lainey went with her boyfriend to the Sierra Nevada mountains on a trip, and they were never seen or heard from again. They just disappeared. Her sister was always a bit quirky, and Aubrey herself is an FBI agent, and she's been on indefinite leave because she basically went a little nuts about finding her sister, and when nobody could find anything and no one would help her, she couldn't focus on work anymore. And so she's just kind of been kicking around trying to find a way to go look for her sister. But the thing is, it's been 3 years, so it's kind of like, what are you hoping to find by actually going to the place? Like, anyway, I've shared this before. I'm a big true crime buff, so there are parts of me that definitely connected with Aubrey about, like, if my sister disappeared in a place and people keep telling me there's nothing to see here, why would I not go look, right? So the beginning of the story, though, is that she discovers an article in the area about this guy named Jensen McGraw, who is a wilderness guide and a rancher. And in this article, he had previously just helped I think some hikers or people, he'd helped find some hikers in the area. And so she actually has a good bit of money from, like, I think it's from an inheritance. And so she decides to hire Jensen to help her find out what happened to her sister. But when she goes to his ranch, she shows up there to talk with him, and he doesn't want anything to do with it for about 10 seconds until she offers more money than he can say no to, because his ranch is actually in debt to a goon, basically, a like loan shark type guy. And he has a mother who needs full-time care. I think she has dementia or she has some type of illness. And so he can't say no to the amount of money that she's offering him, because she's offering him, I think $50,000 just to go look. And if they are to find her sister, she'll pay even more. Or not find her sister, but to actually find anything, she'll offer even more. So he agrees, and him and I think 4 of his men, they all saddle up with her and they head into the mountains to see what they can find. He tries to convince her to give up, but he needs the money, so he's going to go with her no matter what and help her do this. So it doesn't take very long until some things start to occur. And again, this does have zombies in it, so we're going to see some creatures emerge. And the other layer to this, though, is that there's a specific reason why Jensen was afraid to go, and things that he knows and things that he says. You know, again, this book I would completely see as a film, because there's those kind of ominous warnings, right? Like, it's that kind of story where he's telling her, like, make sure your door's locked at night, make sure you don't answer the door if you hear noises. Like, those things keep getting said, which are what give you the goose pimples, even though you know, like, you know it still gives you the goose pimples and everything, the goosebumps. And so, yeah, we're going to find out about what drew Lainey and her boyfriend to this area, what Jensen knows about what's there, and we'll see who makes it out alive, all right? And what I will say is I'm going to read the content warning to you, because it was assuring to me, even though what we went on here. So this is what it said. This book contains violence, gore, the death of a loved one, talks of mental illness and unaliving yourself, generational trauma, domestic violence, off of the page, alcoholism, and talk of drug use, as well as explicit sexual scenes and blasphemous language. But don't worry, all the horses survive. And in fact, there's a scene in this when the shit's really going down, and honestly, the horses are the only way they'd be making it out of here, and they let the horses go. There's distinctly a scene which was very good of them to do, where they literally like kick the horses out so for them to go home, because otherwise the situations they find themselves in, the horses definitely would have been a snack, because they're hiding in scarce places. So Karina Halley's very careful of the horses. You can be assured as well that any horse that you meet, he's going to make it out alive. The people, well, let's just say there's a character who's literally named Red, and I was like, well, that's not a red shirt. I haven't ever seen one before. Yeah, if you don't know what a red shirt is, that was a term for a character in a show or a movie that's basically just there to be killed. They're called red shirts. So, just in case you didn't know, because I know whatever. So anyway, that is like the setup of this book. And again, it was spooky. It took me a few days to get through it. But at the same, like, I had a good time with this story. I really did. I thought it was well paced, except for one glaring aspect, okay? I don't know if this worked as a romance is the problem, right? I know, and I hate to say that about it, because it was a good time, but the romance is really shoehorned into this, okay? This is a type of story that, again, this would work as a film because it's all set in a very tight amount of time, you know, between the time of her showing up and hiring him to the time they go into the mountains to the amount of days they're in the mountains is, I think, about a week's time, if that. And they're already sneaking away to, like, they kiss on, like, the third day they've met. And they're already fucking on, like, day 4. And then they're also fucking, at least 2 of the times, within earshot of his other men. And then other times, there specifically is one time when they fuck that, like, there are literally, like, zombies that could come eat us while we're doing it. So it takes danger bang to a new level. And maybe that's just all right with you, right? Danger bang is a term that I first heard on the Fated Mates podcast many years ago. And it's what happens when you're in, you know, like a suspense or a horror romance. But because it's romance, we still have to fuck at some point. So it's called a danger bang. Just giving you all the knowledge this time around. So, yeah, I don't know that the romance worked for me in this, but honestly, I think it's a good read for October. I think it was great. I just didn't really get, it was all physical, and even by the end of the story, I believe they'd have an HEA maybe, because nobody else has experienced what they've experienced, so maybe you just stay together for the trauma bond of it all. But I don't know that they really connected on much level besides, you know, she hired him to do this and she wants to fuck him more than the other ones. Like, I don't know that there was any real connection there. So I'm just being honest with you. But I still look more favorably than not upon this story. It was good. It's a standalone. So this will still show up on some rec videos. In fact, there's a video I'm filming after this that I'm going to include this in. I just want to let you know that, like, just know going into it that it's mostly for the vibes in that one. And it's a kind of like a light zombie flick. Because how the zombie lore and stuff is in there. Again, it very much read like a film, you know, or it would have been a good, like, graphic novel, like, lots of positives in that aspect, because it truly would be like The Walking Dead meets Yellowstone, and I feel like that could be a really fire of a film. I'm just saying it could have been. So, for all that there, I would say I gave this a 3.5. And it's like a 2.5 for the spice scale. I said there's semi-public danger banging as one of the kinks, so just know that. And it was kind of horror. Like, I read to you what the trigger warnings are. And, oh, there also is, she didn't put this, but there also is a traumatic birth scene in the prologue part of it, okay? Which you'll have to just be prepared for. So anyway, let us move. Okay, next up, I had a fan fiction because yes, I have been more in the mood for those this month, and I'm also halfway done with another one as well, which I'll have to talk about in the next time. But this was Tempt Me Softly, but Touch Me at the Same Time. Okay, very long title here. And this is by Write About Me. Oopsie, I misspelled this. And this was one of the fanfics I had on my fanfic TBR for the year. And it was a Sirius and Hermione fic. It worked out to be about 440 pages, so about an average length fic. Like, it wasn't really short, but it wasn't super long. And this one was a student professor, but kind of with a twist. Like, it really didn't feel creepy at all. I love Sirius and Hermione. I haven't read enough of those, and that's why I had my TBR. Let me show you my fanfic TBR, because the spread that I made in my journal is probably my, like, favorite spread in my journal. Well, one of them anyway. I messed it up because I'm not the neatest writer, but this was my fan fiction TBR. See, I messed up. I need some white out. And I split it up into, I have Draco and Hermione fics, I have Severus and Hermione, Lucius and Hermione, and then I had some Sirius and Hermione. So this one was up here. And I had 20 fics on my TBR, and I've only read 3 of them. Have I got through 3 of them? No, I've only got through 2 of them, which is just ridiculous. So I'm working, no, I did get through 3. I read 1, 2, 3 of them, and I'm working on a 4th one right now, which is a Lucius and Hermione. But anyway, this was one of 20 that I was wanting to get to this month, or this year. And this one involves, it's set during an 8th year of Hogwarts, but the way that it's set is that Sirius is going to be the guest Magic Against the Dark Arts. Is that what it is? I just forgot the name, but the Defense Against the Dark Arts. There we go. Because Remus has also lived, Lupin has also lived, but he is taking a year off to be with Teddy and Nymphadora, okay? So he gets Sirius to step in. And so he's going to teach for a year. And Sirius really doesn't want to do this. He's like, seriously, but Sirius has actually been brought back from the veil in this story. So in this story, he did still fall through the veil in 7th year, but it turns out in a twist of fate that the ministry wasn't supposed to have the veil in that room where they were at or whatever, or it wasn't properly like blocked off. And so it's kind of a like PR thing, and to please Harry Potter and to fix their mistake, they bring him back from the veil. So he's kind of been brought back from the dead. So he's having, you know, some trouble integrating and everything. And so sure, make him a teacher at Hogwarts, right? And again, this is the 8th year for Hermione. And so she was already going to be the TA for Lupin during her 8th year. And so now she's going to be the TA for Sirius. And so Sirius actually agrees to do the teaching job because he'll get to like work with Hermione, and he hopes that she'll kind of help him through it and everything. But remember, Ron and Harry, they aren't back at school. So not everybody went back for 8th year or whatever. So anyway, this then becomes a kind of slow burn between the two of them. It's mostly kind of told from Sirius's point of view. This isn't a first person point of view, but we're mostly in his head about everything. And we just see him become infatuated with her and feel how forbidden she is, but it is like a really slow burn up into it. So there's a lot of really great tension. They spend a lot of time together grading assignments and like planning lessons, and I just thought it was really cute. I loved how they eventually tell like Harry and, well, mostly Harry about it and how Harry reacts. So this was a really pleasant one. I enjoyed it a lot. It did have some fun once they, of course, are finally doing the dirty together. There was some like role play scenes. Obviously they do take a bit advantage of the like her being the professor student role, and so there's some fun stuff to do with that. So I had a really great time with this fic. Again, I don't really rate fics now, but I think I might have messed that up a few of the last times because I have so rarely been reading fics now that I haven't been doing a great job with that. But I do recommend it if you like a forbidden professor student romance, but it's also more of like best friend's dad figure, like guardian type thing. And I love how Hermione is in this one because she's more of the one of like, I'm just waiting for you to kind of like take me type of thing, because she's like, you think this is wrong, but I think we'll be a good match, like that type of thing. So I really love Hermione in this one. Okay, then I had a read for Noelle, which there's so much fun stuff happening for the Claire Kent stuff this month. Let me talk about this book first, and then I'll talk about it because, you know, I could talk about my author forever, right? But I read Christmas at Eden Manor, which, yes, Christmas novel. She is planning to do a bind up of a few of her holiday novels in a special edition. And so there's also going to be a book bub for a couple of these coming up, and so, which means there'll be a sale. So I read Christmas at Eden Manor, which was just a little novella, though I will say this one didn't really feel too Christmassy. So if you don't love a holiday novella fully entrenched in the holiday, this was more of a large like age gap first time love type of story, and it was just really beautiful. So in this one we have Cyrus is probably how you say this. And he was kind of like the guardian to a few other boys. Like they were called the heirs of Damon, which I have not read this series, but he was kind of their guardian. I think he was their uncle maybe. Again, I truly haven't read those ones. This is the one that she assigned me to read this month. But he's been encouraged to take a break from work. And so he's been kind of forced into a vacation by his family. And his sister, I think his sister would be like the mom of these boys. I don't know how it is. But he's in this small town for an extended holiday. And he, I think, is in his like early mid 50s. So he is kind of a silver fox going on. And like she does in a lot of things, there's nothing overly sexy or crazy about this guy. He's your average dude, but very kind, very sweet, still pretty sexy for his age, all those good things. And our heroine, Bree, is actually in her like mid-20s. So it's like a 30-year age gap type thing. But they actually run into each other. And at first they don't even like tell each other their names. They're having a conversation, I think, about art maybe. And it's just so sweet. And he ends up, like, they end up agreeing to have lunch together because I think they run into each other once. They don't see each other's names, but then they both come back to the same place again to try to run into each other again. And that time they introduce themselves and they agree to have lunch together. And so kind of this slow buildup happens with them, but then she's very attracted to him. Like, honestly, she really wants to sleep with him. And he's like, well, I'm only in town for a short time. This is a holiday. And he's such a gentleman. He's like, I don't want to use you or take advantage of this. And she's like, sir, please use me. I want to have fun with you too. And let's just have a nice holiday together. So this becomes like a week-long fling where they're going to basically do dates every day. And also they begin sleeping with each other eventually. So it's a shorter one. It is a holiday romance. We do see the holiday in it, but it didn't feel overly Christmassy or anything. And I'm also sure it probably means even more if you've read the other books connected to it. But it did also work as a standalone, surprisingly, because I didn't know any of the background in it besides that it was a part of it. And it's really focused on these two characters. That's something that Noelle does really well, is in any of her stories. She focuses on the characters at hand. And this one was another third person POV, but for both characters, dual POV, third person. So it was really sweet. And also with this one, I don't rate the books that I read from her, but I'll have links to these books down below if you want to check them out. All right, and then the last book that I finished this week is Undeniably Corrupt by Jay Salmon, which is super cool because this upcoming week on the 26th, I will be interviewing Jay on my Instagram, which I will try to then put onto YouTube later on for you guys, but it will originally be streaming on my Instagram, so you can check it out there. And this was set up between Valentine PR set it up for me. And so this was a dual narration between Stella Hunter and Connor Craze, which is a great couple. And this one is book 7 in the Boston's Irresistible Billionaire series, okay? And this is the one that's normally a like doctor setting that I just love, though the last two haven't really been set in the hospital as much. And this one, being one of them, wasn't really set up there. But this one was about Vander, who we have seen in multiple books before, because he is a hacker and he's good friends with our crew of people. And in this one, it is actually a second chance romance, because he runs into his high school sweetheart. His first love was his best friend's little sister, and they actually broke up when they were young. He went away to school, and there was something that happened in her life where she was also forced to never reach out to him. So they broke up. Her brother had died, and there were some very traumatic things that happened. Now, it's many years later, and she's actually a single mom who's just trying to make ends meet. She's trying to go to nursing school, and she's also like working at a coffee shop and working as a stripper and just doing whatever she can to take care of her daughter. And she ends up like running into Vander at a coffee shop, and he recognizes her, but like she doesn't recognize him right away. He looks very different. He's now tattooed all over. He's definitely looking rougher and scruffer than back when he was only 20 years old or so. And he ends up getting her fired from where she's working and hires her at his tech business because he can pay her better. And so she becomes his assistant. He pushes her into that. He is very bossy, very dominant, but he just takes all these steps to make her life better. And then when he discovers that the place she's living, there is a like drug dealer hanging outside of her place, waiting for opportunities to assault her, he also forces her to move in with him. But there is a reason why she's never reached out to him, and it has to do with her family and what happened to her brother. And there are secrets that she doesn't want Vander to know because she doesn't want him snooping into it. But if there's anything you should know about a man like him, you keeping a secret from him is only going to make him more eager to discover what the hell is going on. And that's definitely the case in this story. So this was really great. It was a second chance romance. They were first loves. They were each other's first, like, everything. And so there's a lot of beautiful connection. There's also a lot of things that have to get unraveled between the two of them. There's also her adorable, like, 2.5-year-old daughter who will just melt your little heart. We love her. And I loved this. I think it might be tied with like the first book in the series for my favorite. I gave this 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. This one was a bit more serious and edged a little darker than some of the last couple. A couple of the last ones were more humorous. And there's definitely moments of that in this. But I will say that it still is a lot like darker than some of those previous ones, because this does have domestic abuse in the past. It also has gaslighting parent. It also has, you know, the death of her brother and some violence and things like that, and attempted assault. But it also has some fun kinkiness. Our hero has multiple dick piercings. So we got a pierced pecker going on here. We had anal and breath play and restraints. There was a gag at one time too. That was actually really hot. Okay, I know we don't always use those, but it was hot. So yeah, this was a really fun one. And I can't wait to talk with Jay. I've loved all the books in this series, but this is probably tied with book 1 as my favorite one. So I gave this one 5 stars, and it's a 3.5 on the Spice scale. It comes out on the 22nd. And like I said, I'm going to interview her on the 25th, not the 26th, the 25th. So like I said, definitely be subscribed to my Instagram and come hang out. It'll be at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, but I will try to repost it here if you don't have Instagram later. Okay, and then like I said, I thought I would bring up the one I'm currently reading because I will finish it today, and it will be 2 weeks before I talk about books again. So I'm also reading My Favorite Hero by Melanie Moreland. I started the ALC, and then I got my book box with this yesterday, which I just filmed a book haul, which just went up the other day. And then I got this book and actually this one in the mail the same day, so they aren't in that book haul. So excited to read this. But, yeah, My Favorite Hero is book 3 in her, My Favorite series, but they're all, from what I can tell, they're all disconnected. The only thing that connects them is, like, the titles. But this one is a firefighter and a, computer programmer, and they end up being kind of like next door neighbors, living in a house that is like a duplex or whatever. And he was actually supposed to own the house, but the person who owned it before him, she ended up renting out part of it to this person named Casey is her name. And her new landlord is Jesse Thorne. And he has all these rules for her and all these like things he's trying to do to kind of like force her to leave, because he doesn't know why she's all of a sudden showing up there, and he doesn't understand why the person who used to live by him, why she would have left this place to her to be the tenant. Like, it's hard to explain it all. It makes sense as soon as you start reading it. But there's so many cute things. This series is always, like, it's so much fun with banter. Like, Melanie Moreland writes banter so good. It's narrated by Maxine Mitchell and John Lane, who do, like, all of her books. And so it's so sexy and fun. I'm just enjoying it so much. It's dual narrated. This one's dual narrated. And it's so much fun. They end up becoming friends with benefits, of course, or neighbors with benefits. And also the cutest part is his dog and her cat are the best of friends, like for real. They become friends before the owners do. And so one of the first things that like connects the two of them is that their pets want to hang out all the time. Let me find one of the cute pictures. Like, look at this. Like, here's a cute one of like they're in bed and like their pets are snuggled up together. They're just so cute together. So I'm really, really enjoying this one. Yeah, they sent all these page overlays and her artist is so great. Like the artist for these is fantastic. Bigfoot Creative is the name of the artist. Abby Sweet. So this is most likely going to be a 4.5 or a 5-star read. We'll see. But I just want to share about it. This one comes out on the 30th, so it'll be out soon. And this one will get pubbed as well. Like her books have been, the series has been there too. But I just love these. This is the kind of like where it's an illustrated cover, but it's still clearly a romance. And like the detail is so good. It isn't faceless characters or anything. I just love them. They're so cute. So anyway, this is the one I'm currently reading. And those are the books that I read this week. So let me know what you read, what you loved. Do you enjoy reading a romance with some horror, spooky vibes in it like Death Valley? Let me know what you think because it's coming up to October. And I gotta tell you, I added quite a few paranormal to my TBR. That is actually probably what next Saturday's video will be, by the way, thinking about it. It'll probably be the TBR. Yeah, you should let me know what you think about that. So, thank you so much for watching, friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.